Hello everyone, magandang araw sa ating lahat. Tapos na nating i-define yung various definitions of culture and as well as yung various definitions na nandun sa politics. And we also use it as a form of analysis dun sa ating Philippine context. So for today, yung iniwan nating question ng nakaraang discussion is, does culture shapes politics or does politics shape culture? At kung paano naman sinasabi natin na how these two interplays doon sa environmental context ng ating bansa, which is the Philippines. So, for today, we will be trying to discuss how culture and politics shape socio-political landscape. So now, as a form of uh, unahin natin yung culture shapes politics. So as we can see in the last discussion, culture comprising shared beliefs, values, customs, and practices profoundly impacts political ideologies, institutions, and policies. How? Papaano yung kultura ay hinuhubog yung politika in the idea of cultural norms because it provides the foundation for a society's political entity, influencing how people perceive governance, justice, rights, and powers. So ano nga ba ito sinasabi nating cultural norms and values? When we say cultural norms, alam niyo naman na to, but basically, it comprises of shared beliefs, customs, and practices, and it is the foundation for a society's political identity. Basically, when we say cultural norms, ito lang yung lagi kong iniisip, ano? When I say norm, cultural norms, ito yung tanggap sa lipunan. This is quote and unquote, what is normal in a society. Kung ano yung mga values uh, na or nakikitang normal sa isang lipunan. And ang question, ano yung influence ito on politics? So, the political ideologies, it is shaped by cultural values. When we say cultural values, ito yung mga paniniwala at yung mga pagtingin, specifically just like attitudes toward governance, justice, and rights. Kung ano yung pagtingin natin dito. For example, nakikita natin Philippine context ganito. Pero naman, pagka ginamit natin, for example, North Korea, magkaparehas ba? Magkaparehas ba yung paniniwala, attitude toward governance? Parehas din ba yung pangakarapatan? Parehas din ba yung klase ng hustisya na meron dito sa Pilipinas and doon sa uh, North Korea? I'm not discussing comparative politics here, pero yun kasi yung pinakamaiintindihan natin on how culture shapes politics. Kasi different culture, most probably different politics. Dahil yan, hinubog nga nung kaisipan ng kultura yung ating politika. And the political institution and policies, it reflects the dominant cultural norms and societal expectations. And for the perception of power, they determine how authority is viewed and exercised in society. Babalik ulit tayo. How authority is viewed in North Korea. Si si yung Kim family, paano yung pagtingin sa kanila on the Kim family. On the Philippine context, paano yung pag-exercise natin paano yung pag-exercise ng presidente natin and his authority at paano naman natin tinatanggap yung pag-exercise niya nun? Can we call him out? Pwede ba natin sabihin yung mga hinaing natin? That is why cultural norms are essential in shaping political ideologies and systems. And it influences governance structures, legal frameworks, and even the social order. Kaya ito yung first argument natin. That culture shapes politics because of the shared beliefs, values, customs, and the norms na meron tayo. It shapes the political ideologies in the institutions and even policies na meron tayo. Paano yun? For example, ano pa idagdag natin na dito? Para mas hindi ko na masyadong discuss masyado yung mga succeeding slides. When we talk about same-sex marriage, ano ba yung paghubog sa kultura natin? Basically, most pa rin ay conservative. Personally, ako, alam niyo naman siguro yung stand ko sa same-sex marriage. I believe that it is more of a good thing. Kasi binibigyan natin yung karapatan ng mga uh, tinatawag nating third sex. Binibigyan natin sila ng karapatan, yung mga third sex. However, as we know that the culture that we have here is inclined in a more of a religious way or more of quote unquote Catholic teaching. And the Catholic teaching as part of our culture is not really what they call this terminology coincide with the third sex. So in that sense, yung mga policies na pwedeng gawin sa atin is rely on the beliefs and customs na meron tayo in our cultural perspective. Naintindihan? Kaya nga sasabi na culture shapes politics, na hinuhubog ng kultura yung ating politika. So, for the political ideology and values, in societies where individualism is a core cultural value, for example, in the context of United States, political ideologies then emphasize personal liberty, free market principles, and minimal state intervention. Kaya nga ito yung idea of laissez-faire, laissez-faire, kung naalala niyo pa yung laissez-faire, no? Na yung idea of liberty, yung idea of individualism, and the free market principle. Pero dito naman sa China, I am not sure kasi yung China more kung titignan na rin natin, papunta na rin sila sa individualist. So gamitin na lang siguro natin yung China during Chairman Mao. Yung kay Chairman Mao, yun yung People's Republic of China, yung kay Mao Zedong. It is more of a collectivist culture where it lean towards political system that prioritize communal welfare, state intervention, and social harmony. So, ano yung titignan natin dito? Kung sa US, individualism, ang political emphasis niya is personal liberty and free market principles. So, ano yung example nito? Policies favoring deregulation, limited government, and protection of individual rights. Kasi nga, yung political ideology nila, nakaangkla dun sa culture na meron sila. At ano yung merong cultural value na meron sa US? More of individualist. Dahil individualist sila, yung mga gagawin nilang batas, yung mga gagawin nilang mga proyekto is more of protection of individual rights. And yung mga polisiya nila, more of policies na mag-favor doon sa deregulation. Kung titignan naman natin, yung China during Mao Zedong, collectivist. Yun yung cultural value na meron sila. Dahil yun yung cultural value na meron sila, ang pinofocus nila is yung welfare, communal welfare, yung state intervention, and the social harmony. Kaya ang gagawin nila mga policies, dahil nga ganun yung cultural value nila, yung social stability, government planning, and community-focused governance. So, ano yung gusto ko lang sabihin dito? So, cultural values like individualism and collectivism shape the political ideologies and governance styles of societies, influencing their approach to liberty, welfare, and state intervention. So, kung ano yung paniniwala, cultural value na meron ka, kung ano yung kultura na meron ka, yun yung isusulong mo dun sa yung mga political motivations. Kung ano yung mga political na gusto mo. Next is in terms of social expectation and political behavior. Dahil ito yung kultura natin. For example, culture influence political behavior by shaping social expectations around leadership, participation, and governance. For example, ito na nga. Sa Pilipinas, alam natin yung idea of utang na loob and pakikisama. At it often translates into political behavior such as patronage politics, where politicians maintain power through personal relationships and favors rather than through formal institutions. So, ano yung sinasabi nito? Na yung kultura, it shapes the norms around leadership, participation, and governance. At kung gagamitin natin yung example ng utang na loob at yung pakikisama, yung utang na loob, depth of gratitude and pakikisama, smooth interpersonal relations, it leads to patronage politics. Yung mga politiko, na-maintain nila yung kanilang kapangyarihan gamit nga yung pakikisama. At ito ay nag-less doon sa emphasis ng formal institutions dahil mas pinofocus mo yung social connections. Ano nangyayari sa pagganito? Anong nangyayari kapag ganito yung klase ng klase ng politika na meron tayo? Isa sa mga studies na tinitingnan na isa sa mga root of corruption is because of utang na loob. Bakit? Bakit nagiging root of corruption yung utang na loob? For example ako, tumatakbo ako bilang isang politiko. Tumatakbo akong konsehal ng bayan ng Muñoz, for example. At merong mga tumulong sa akin. Naniwala sa akin. Mga, for example, naniwala sa akin yung isang nagtitinda ng, dyan, bakery. Maliit na bakery lang. Maliit na bakery, pero mayaman yung may-ari, ano? At sinabi niya na tutulungan kita, naniniwala ako sa kakayahan mo. Naniniwala ako sa lakas mo. Naniniwala ako sa galing mo. Ngayon, nanalo ako. Dahil din sa tulong niya. Pumunta sa akin yung may-ari ng bakery. Ah, may problema ako eh. Baka pwede mo naman ako naman yung matulungan mo ngayon. Ano po bang problema? Tatanungin ko. Ang problema ko lang naman yung tungkol lang dito sa tindahan ko. Eh, hinahanapan ako ng business permit eh. Tsaka, hinahanapan pa ako ng mga health protocols daw. Baka naman pwede naman na makisuyo. O dahil meron akong utang na loob sa kanya, pagbibigyan ko yung gusto niya. Pagbibigyan ko naman siya ngayon. Dahil pinagbigyan niya ako, pagbibigyan ko siya ngayon. Parang ito yung tinatawag natin na patron-client relationship, ano? Na I'll scratch your back, you'll scratch mine. Kaya nga tinatawag siya na yung patronage politics. And that is the problem. Kasi nga ito yung kultura na meron tayo. Na magkaroon ka ng utang na loob. Yan yung sinasabi lagi. Wala kang utang na loob. Dapat may utang na loob ka. So in that sense, kailangan mo ng utang na loob. Magkaroon ka ng utang na loob. It produces corruption doon sa ganung sistema. Kaya yung sinasabi, no? Isa sa mga root causes of corruption in our country is because of the culture that we have. And one of the culture that we have or the cultural values that we have is the utang na loob. Okay. Next. The cultural legitimacy and political authority. So, the political leaders and institutions often derive their legitimacy from alignment with cultural values. In many societies, a government that reflects that respects cultural norms is more likely to be viewed as legitimate. For example, in the Philippines, the cultural resonance of Catholicism means that political leaders often seek endorsement or alignment with the Catholic Church to legitimize their authority. So, dahil ngayon yung cultural alignment for legitimacy, political leaders and institutions gain legitimacy by aligning with cultural values. Maka-Diyos, makatao, makakalikasan at makabansa. Dahil yan yung motto ng ating bansa. Yan yung motto ng ating pinanunupaan. Kailangan maging ganyan ka. That is the cultural value na meron ka. Yun din yung huhubog dun sa politika. For example naman, ito, ginagamit natin yung Catholicism, yung influence of Catholicism, yung strong presence ng Catholicism. So, political leaders seek endorsement or alignment with the Catholic Church. Kaya ngayon, yung political legitimacy is often enhanced by aligning with cultural norms. Ibig sabihin, mas lalakas ka, mas makikilala ka, mas tatanyag ka, mas magiging power mo is more legitimate. And pagka mas magiging legitimate yung power mo, kung gagamitin natin yung Laswellian definition, yung who gets what, where, when, and how, kung mas mabilis, at kung when, yung mas mabilis, at how, mas madali mo nakuha yung kapangyarihan, ibig sabihin, mas legitimate yung power na meron ka. At makukuha mo yun because of the cultural value na meron tayo. At dahil yun ito yung isa sa mga best examples na sinasabi na sinasabi rin ng mga ibang political scientists. Noong panahon ni Noynoy, ang talagang tatakbo dapat doon si Marojas. Kaso anong nangyari? Namatay yung nanay ni Noynoy Aquino, which is si Cory Aquino. And si Cory Aquino is a symbol of democracy. Bakit naging symbol of democracy siya? Dahil nga nilabanan niya at isa siya sa mga key persons kasama ng kanyang asawa para patalsikin ang diktadoryang Marcos. Ang kanilang dictatorship at ang kanilang uh, authority over the country. Napatalsik nila yung pamilyang yon, especially si Marcos Sr. Dahil nga doon, sa ganung perspective, nagkaroon ng rise ng popularity lalo si Noynoy Aquino dahil namatay yung kanyang nanay. So dahil namatay yung nanay niya, nag-iitong isang what do you call this? Isang avenue para siya ipatakbuhin ng Liberal Party noon instead of Marojas. Dahil nga mas matunog, mas masikat, mas emotionally attached ang mga Pilipino, especially in terms of the Catholic Church. So, because of the cultural legitimacy, because of the cultural attachment, it shapes again the political atmosphere na meron tayo. Because nakapagpalagay tayo, instead na si Marojas yung tatakbo, ang napatakbo natin ay si Noynoy Aquino at siya ang nanalo bilang president. Okay? Next, ito yung mga examples dun sa nagbigay naman ako ng example, ito yung pala lang natin. More of specific sa Philippine context. Yung reproductive health policy and the Catholicism. So because of the strong cultural influence ng Catholic Church, it significantly shaped the country's reproductive health policies. So the Catholic Church Cultural Authority has led to political resistance against policies like the Reproductive Health Bill. Ito pa kung naalala nyo, mayroong Team Patay, ito yung Team Buhay. Yung Team Patay, ito yung sumusuporta sa RH Bill. Yung Team Buhay, ito yung mga kumukontra sa RH Bill. So, ano yung cultural influence ng Catholicism na to? The Catholic Church influence permits social norms, values, and political discourse. So, because of the Reproductive Health Bill, nagkaroon ng mas maraming debate, especially around religious values and moral grounds. Religious cultural values and cultural moral grounds. Ngayon, kung titignan natin, the Catholic Church Cultural Authority shapes the reproductive health policies in the country by promoting religious values, leading to significant political resistance against the policies perceived as conflicting with the Catholic teachings. Nagigets ba yung idea? Nagigets yung on how cultural values, on how the culture shapes the political atmosphere na meron tayo. And that is the first argument, that culture shapes politics. Now, let's try the other one, that where politics shapes culture. Ano kaya mas tama sa inyo? Culture shapes politics o politics shapes culture? Ngayon yung pag-uusapan natin. Politics shapes culture. So while culture can shape political systems, the reverse is also true. That political institutions and decisions are actively shaped and modify cultural norms and practices. So political decisions and institutions actively shape and modify cultural norms and practices. For example, laws and policies can alter cultural practices and societal values. For example, gender equality laws and changing gender norms. Government promotes or suppress cultural elements to align with political goals like cultural nationalism during regime changes. Ito yung mga kung gagamitin natin example ng cultural nationalism, most probably ito yung si tawag ito, during Marcos years na meron silang tinatawag na bagong lipunan. Ngayon, bagong Pilipinas eh. Ngayon, ay dati, bagong lipunan. Kung saan ito talaga ang ginawa nila, nagkaroon ng mga revisions doon sa mga historical accounts na meron tayo. At nagkaroon talaga ng even yung pera na meron tayo. More of tinatawag natong cultural revolution. Ano yung pagkagamitin natin yung cultural revolution in terms of China, ito na yung kay Mao Zedong ulit. Ang ginawa ni Mao Zedong doon sa Cultural Revolution, talagang binago yung mga binago yung thinking, yung binago yung on how they think, on how they perceive things. Binago yung cultural identity ng China, no? Kaya nga yun yung isa sa mga quote and quote major quote and quote achievement ni Mao Zedong. So public education, government-run education system shapes cultural identity and societal values. So as we can see here, political institutions and policies play a crucial role in shaping and modifying cultural norms. Mamaya, magkakaroon tayo ng more of example dyan. Kasi nga, titignan natin, in the legal and policy frameworks, political decisions are often established and legal policy frameworks that shapes cultural practices. For example, laws related to marriage, gender equality, and freedom of speech directly influence social norms and cultural expressions. In the Philippines, political reforms such as the Magna Carta of Women have contributed to changing cultural attitudes towards gender roles and rights. Alam naman natin na dati na talagang ang Pilipinas ay patriarchal na lipunan. Pero dahil dito sa political reform such as the Magna Carta of Women, mas nagkakaroon ng karapatan at kalakasan ng kababaihan. Instead na more of patriarchal tayo, mas nagiging inclusive at mas nagkakaroon ng rights, equal rights between men and women. And makikita natin dito na yung political decision establish laws and policies that shapes cultural practices and social norms. For example, marriage laws. Yung influences cultural norms around family and relationships. Yung gender equality laws, yung Magna Carta of Women. So, yung freedom of speech, it also shapes cultural expressions and public discourse. Ito yung mga favorite example ko nga, itong paggamit natin ng yung Marcos years, na Marcos senior years. Dahil nga yung Marcos senior years ay ang ginawa talaga nila doon yung mga policies na bawal may curfew, may mga curfew. Dahil sa mga policies na yun, nagbago rin yung nagkaroon ng cultural modification. Nagbago yung attitude ng mga tao. Kasi sabi nilang mas mas naging tahimik daw kasi nga dahil do sa mga what do you call this political propaganda during that time. So what we can see here is that political reforms and legal frameworks significantly impact cultural norms and practices, just like what the Magna Carta of Women, where it reshaped cultural attitudes in the Philippines. Next, ito na yung pinag-uusapan natin kanina, no? The state promotion or suppression of cultural elements. So political regimes often promote certain cultural elements while suppressing others to serve their agenda. For example, during the Marcos senior years, the government promoted nationalist culture through media and education while suppressing dissenting voices, shaping a cultural narrative aligned with the state's interests. Ibig sabihin, kapag taliwas yung mga sinasabi mo, taliwas yung paniniwala mo, taliwas ang iyong mga pinaglalaban, ikaw ay kalaban. Dahil ang kailangan na meron tayong ang kailangan ng cultural narrative natin ay kung ano ang sinasabi ng Estado at kung ano ang interes ng Estado. Kaya nga yung political regimes often promote certain cultural elements and suppress others to align with their agenda. Ito na yung talaga tinatawag natin na quote-unquote manipulation or agenda setting. Technically, ang agenda setting, yun nga, mayroon kang manipulation. So, during the Marcos regime, they promote nationalist culture through media and education. And they emphasize on state-approved narratives and symbols. Ito na nga itatawag na bagong lipunan. Ngayon, yung anong ginawa nila? Yung mga dissenting voices and alternative cultural expression were suppressed, and control over public discourse and artistic freedom were also suppressed. Kaya nga ito yung pagsusulat mo, kung meron kang sinusulat na against sa government, hindi pa pwede yan. Bawal yan. Huhulihin ka. You can be a political prisoner. Na halimbawa, yung magtitipon-tipon, bawal yung pagtitipon-tipon. Dahil yung pagtitipon-tipon, pwedeng merong pinag-uusapang iba. And during this time, even Voltes 5 ay binan. Bakit naman si Voltes 5? Pwede daw i-corrupt yung utak ng mga tao, mga bata. Bakit? Sino ba kinakalaban ni Voltes 5? Masasama. Ano ginagawa ni Voltes 5? Voltes 5, Unite. Yung Team Unite, magkakaroon sila, magsasama-sama sila. Maliliit lang sila. Pero pag nagsama-sama sila, magiging silang isang malaking robot at kakalabanin nila yung sama. Kakalabanin nila yung mga halimaw. Ganun yung ginawa, no? Kaya nga yung impact nito, it shaped a cultural narrative that supported and legitimized the regime's interests. Dahil ito doon sa kanilang were the political interest and the political motivations and as well as political narrative shapes cultural elements. Okay? Next is the public education and cultural identity. So the government often use education to shape cultural identity and values in the Philippines. The emphasis on the Tagalog. Ito yung kulang na natin, ano? Pandagdag na lang natin to. Dati kasi, Tagalog, yung Filipino na language natin, hinango yan sa Tagalog. Ang nakalaban niya, if I'm not mistaken, ang nakalaban ng Tagalog ay Cebuano. So, kung ano yung magiging national language ng Philippines. So, since mas marami yung nagtatagalog, mas marami yung Tagalog speakers, yun yung ginamit nila na basis for the Filipino language. So basically, ano yung gusto nating i-pinpoint doon? Na dahil doon sa mga polisiya na magkaroon tayo ng common national language, it fostered a sense of national unity. Where we use the Tagalog, yun naman talaga yung history nun eh. Na nagbotohan kung anong ba talaga magiging national language, and ang national language is Filipino, pero yung Filipino, hinango yan doon sa Tagalog. And yung Filipino, sinasabi naman na ngayon, is a collective, what do you call this? Collective terminology or collective languages ng buong bansa. Pero as we can see, kung merong mga, yun yung isa sa mga nilalabanan ng ibang mga groups na nasasabi nila yung Tagalog-centric ano yung or Tagalog imperialism. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng Tagalog imperialism? Na masyado ng Manila-centered or masyado ng Tagalog-centered yung ating bansa. Because of the Tagalog language, nagkakaroon ng discrimination on other languages. For example, on how you speak, on how you use your language. Kaya nga, yun yung pinasok ngayon ng DepEd naman, yung mother tongue. Kaso ang nagiging problema sa mother tongue, hindi naman daw effective. So gusto nilang tanggalin yung mother tongue. Bakit? Ba't hindi daw naging effective? Dahil dun sa mga mga international test. Hindi tayo makasabay. Lagi tayong even yun sa creativity test. Pero hindi naman din natin naiintindihan ano ba yung cultural value or identity na meron tayo. So, yun yung isa sa mga mga pwede natin pag-usapan in this class. Next, yung example dito sa Philippine context, ayun na nga, yung martial law, yung influence on cultural expression. So basically, napag-usapan naman natin to, yung martial law period has deeply influenced Filipino cultural memory and public discourse, shaping how the nation reflects on governance, human rights, and democratic values through values cultural forms. So dahil ito yung mga isinapasang batas, dapat ganito. Ganito ang tama. Ganito ang gawin. Ganito ang kasaysayan. Ganito ang totoo. So because of those things, of those policies, yung mga cultural forms na meron tayo, and even yung ating democratic values, and even our views on human rights, ay nagbago din. Kasi nga, di ba, ang mga Pilipino daw, more of humane. Pero pagka ang papatayin ay mga kalaban ng gobyerno o ang mga sasaktan ay kalaban ng gobyerno, tama lang yan. Mga kalaban ng gobyerno yan eh. Because of those policies na meron tayo, it shapes how we perceive things, on how we see things. Okay? Now, question. Idagdag na lang ulit natin to, ano? Indigenous communities, local culture, the local government code, the decentralization and cultural autonomy. So those things are also examples of how politics shapes culture. Now, ito yung mas mahalaga. Pero pwede naman sila magsama. So, the mutual influence or a two-way relationship. Culture and politics creates a feedback loop where cultural norms shapes political decisions and political changes, in turn, reshapes cultural norms. For instance, cultural movements demanding greater rights or recognition can lead to a political reform, which then influence broader cultural acceptance. So, cultural norms and movements influence political decisions and policies. Political reforms and changes affects cultural norms and societal values. Yung LGBTQ movement, yung dynamic interaction. Kaya kung makikita natin, hindi naman culture shapes politics or politics shapes culture lang. They are both shaping each other. Where culture shapes politics and as well as politics shapes culture. Kung titignan natin, more of context specific, ang gusto lang natin ipakita dito, no? That the relationship between culture and politics varies significantly depending on the political context. So for example, with authoritarian regimes, typically exerting more influence over cultural norms, while democratic settings allow cultural values to shape political outcomes more directly. So ito yung gusto kong gamitin, ano? Ito yung gusto kong ipaliwanag. Kaya kay David Easton, ito yung tinatawag na black box model din. Or iba pang tinatawag dito yung sa systems theory. Ito yung sinasabing systems theory. Bakit? Bakit ano itong meron sa systems theory nito or black box model na to? Unahin natin yung demand. Ito yung demand. mayroong demand. For example, ano yung gusto nating ilagay na demand dyan? Free tertiary education. Libreng edukasyon sa mga kolehiyo. Ngayon, ito ay susuportahan. Magkano demand? Susuportahan. Dahil sinuportahan yan ng mga grupo, yan ay bupasok sa black box. Ano yung black box? This is the political system. Ano ang mangyayari dyan sa political system? Yun yung first reading, second reading, third reading, third reading, yan yung mangyayari dyan, no? Madayong mga pagbabasa dyan. Ngayon, hindi mo alam kung ano pwedeng mangyari. Pwede nandyan, free tertiary education, isusulong ba? Pag sinulong natin, bababa yung budget ng ganito. Pag bumaba yung budget ng ganito, hindi pwede. Kailangan taasan natin yung budget ito para marami tayong makorap. Bigyan naman natin ng kakayahan yung mga tao. Huwag nating tanggalin yung karapatan nila sa libreng edukasyon. Ngayon, ang question, okay ba sa inyo yung free education o hindi? Magkakaroon ng desisyon. Lalabas na yan. At ang lalabas dyan ay yes, naaprubahan ang libreng edukasyon. At yun yung magiging output. At dahil yun yung output niya, pwedeng bumalik ulit yan dito at magkaroon ng feedback. Kaya nga last year, isa sa mga sikat na sikat, itong si Jokno, hindi si Shell Jokno, ibang Jokno. Benjamin Jokno, if I am not mistaken. Basta sa may BSP yun. Si Benjamin Jokno, ang sinasabi niya na dapat daw wag nang bigyan ng free tertiary education. Kaya nabas siya. Kasi yun yung isa sa mga pwedeng feedback or output. Ngayon, susuportahan ba o hindi yung sinabi niya? Ang nangyari, hindi naman nasuportahan. Ngayon, gamitin ulit natin. Another example. Papasok naman dyan ay same-sex marriage. Yun yung demand. Merong syempre susuporta. Papasok yan ulit sa political system. Pagdedebatihan yan. Okay ba yan? Madayong magagalit. Madayong masasaktan. Kapag ka tayo ay umapruba dito, sa same-sex marriage na to, makakalaban natin yung simbahang katolika. Ang simbahang katolika, napakalaki. Napakaraming butante. Pagka yan ay nakalaban natin, malalaman nila na ito'y sinuportahan natin, pwede hindi na ulit tayo iboto sa susunod na eleksyon. Mas mahalaga yung boto kaysa sa prinsipyo. Kailangan nating hindi suportahan yung same-sex marriage. Mawawalan tayo ng boto. Naku, mawawalan tayo ng suporta. Mawawalan tayo ng pera. Mawawalan tayo ng kapangyarihan. Mawawalan tayo ng impluwensya. Mawawala lahat sa atin yan kapag pina-aprobahan natin yung same-sex marriage. Basura. Ngayon, magkakaroon ng desisyon. Ang desisyon, binasura. At magkakaroon ulit ng output or feedback. Ano yung, ito, magkakaroon dyan. Babalik yan. Ito na yung output. At dahil meron ng output, magkakaroon na yan ng feedback. At yung feedback, magagalit ba yung mga tao dahil hindi sinuportahan yun? O matutuwa ang simbahan katolika? O matutuwa ang sino man? O kung sino matutuwa? It's up to you to decide. Pero wag natin kalimutan na mahalaga din dyan yung environmental context. Environment, lahat yan, lahat ng mga policies na meron tayo dahil yan sa environmental context na meron tayo. Ngayon, mas nagiging bukas na sa lipunan ang third sex. Kaya nagkakaroon ng mga mga demand and pag-support sa same-sex marriage. Mas nagkakaroon na tayo ng pagpapahalaga sa edukasyon. Kaya nagkakaroon ng demands and support sa sa what they call this free tertiary education. It depends on the environmental context na meron tayo. Ngayon, ang sigurado ako magkakaroon na naman dito is yung AI. How AI, yung mga pwedeng maging batas dun in terms of AI. Yung mga pwedeng maging what do you call this? Legal remedies sa paggamit ng AI. So, magkakaroon na naman sigurado yun ng demand supports, pag-uusapan na naman, pagdidebatihan, at magkakaroon ng desisyon, at magkakaroon ng output, at yung output na yun ay pwedeng i-criticize or is support, and that is what we call feedback. So, pag yung mga kritisismo, okay ba yung mga yun? Yes. Okay yung mga criticisms because that is what we call feedback. At huwag natin kalimutan na environmental context ay laging mahalaga dahil kada environmental context, yun yung naguhubog doon sa mga demand and support doon sa bansa. Okay? Naintindihan? So in conclusion, basically, yung culture role, culture shapes politics. Example dyan, yung religious beliefs influencing policy making in the Philippines. Doon naman sa politics, shapes culture. Example niyan, state power used to promote or suppress cultural identities. But yung mas mahalaga natin, to weigh that culture and politics do not exist in isolation. They continuously interact and influence each other, and it creates a dynamic landscape where each element reshapes the other. That's why understanding the relationship between culture and politics involves recognizing their deep interdependence and the continuous reciprocal influence they exert on each other. Kaya nga mga mahal kong mag-aaral, mga kapatid, ang pangalan ng ang pangalan natin ay hindi lang politics at hindi lang culture. It politics and culture. It culture and politics. Naintindihan? Any questions? If you have any questions, pwede ako message so that we could answer your queries or pwedeng nyo naman tanungin during class. So with that guys, maraming salamat and I'll see you on next discussion. Thank you.